Welcome to Creative Genius, the 21-day series where we are going to unlock your creative freedom, your creative joy, and your creative magic. Hello and welcome to day 8 of Creative Genius. We are talking about consistency today and why consistency is the magic to your creative practice, why consistency is the magic as human beings, why consistency gets to be not something that you have to feel from a pressured place, but from a place of devotion and love, and what consistency means to you. Consistency is the brilliant place where your evolution will happen naturally because you're showing up. The magic of consistency over time is that no matter what you're practicing, you will get better at it. So if you are learning a skill as an artist, consistency is what's going to take you from feeling like a beginner to mastery. Consistency and devotion to what we are practicing is how we learn to do something. It's how we get better at things. It's how over time, by just simply showing up, we naturally evolve into something greater. The thing about consistency is that it doesn't have to mean every single day. Your definition of consistent gets to, while alter with seasons, like change with what you're going through, change with what you have available to yourself, change with where you're at in your life. Consistency doesn't always have to mean the same thing as it meant yesterday or the same thing is going to mean tomorrow. You get to define what consistent is for you right now. The only caveat about that is that it requires you to be brilliantly honest with yourself and what is your capability right now, what is your capacity right now, and where are you not making what you want to feel like a master at, what you want to get better at, what you want to create in your world. Where are you not making it a priority? Because the things that we want do require effort. They require us to decide, this is what I'm creating, and they require us to say, what are the steps to get there? If you want to create more muscle, if you want to create strength, if you want to create more flexibility in your body, you have to show up and do that work consistently. Does that mean you have to be perfect 7 days a week? No. Does it mean that you can do nothing for 7 days and then another 7 days and then another 7 days until a year has passed and you're going to achieve the physicality, the sense of stability, the sense of strength and flexibility that you want in your body? Probably not. We have to be really honest about what we want from a place of soul and not just from what you think you should be doing. Now, consistent does not always mean motivated. That's not the same thing. We're not always going to want to show up for the things that we've decided that we want to create. There are going to be some days where we don't feel well, or we are tired, or we are, have a lot of emotions. There are going to be times where we don't want to show up. And in that case, you need to pull from your leadership. You need to pull from your vision. You need to pull from your devotion. Like we talked about in yesterday's video, day 7 on leadership, you need to pull from somewhere else. There are also going to be things that as we create, as we evolve, as we continue to get better, as we set these new goals, our nervous system in our body and our subconscious beliefs that are happening they don't have to necessarily match, but you do have to be aware of where the differences are, right? So let's say you want to create, you want to start speaking, you want to start sharing, you want to start showing up differently, and you feel frozen, or you feel like you don't know what to do, or you feel like you don't believe yourself, or you feel like what if this doesn't go well? None of those things mean that you shouldn't be consistent. None of those things mean that you should stop where you are. They mean that your nervous system and your subconscious mind and your body are keeping you at a set point, a comfortable point, a safe point, because that's what they're designed to do. And what you're growing beyond, what you're expanding into, is something that feels uncomfortable. And like we've talked about before, and like you can dive into even deeper in my 2-day free class, Art and Soul, your mind is trying to play out what's going to happen in the future based on what has happened in the past. And your identity story, your story of who you are being, is directly tied into those beliefs. It's directly tied into what you feel in your body. And we are wired to feel uncomfortable sometimes as we grow. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you are probably in the right place. It means you are expanding. And it's why we talked about day 6 of building pleasure and why that's so important as you continue to expand, why you have this practice to expand in a way that feels more comfortable, to expand in a way that feels more beautiful, to be consistent by setting up an environment around you that allows you to show up. That means as much as each one of these pieces you can take by itself and implement something from that day, they're building on each other as we go throughout this 21-day series. So you can continue to expand on each one of these, and they compound, right, when you start adding them together. So for consistency, you want to look at what is your capacity and what are the things you might need to drop in order to have a consistent space, whether that's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour. I have been painting and creating as a busy mom for over a decade, so I understand that there are not always hours available to me, right? I create very well in pockets. I create very well when my kids are in the room with me. I create very well from my couch. I create very well from my kitchen. I create very well from my living room floor. I create very well from the river. I create. Nothing stops me, nothing keeps me from my consistency because they're not my excuse. They get to witness my creative process. Like my world, my life is not a reason not to create. It is my creation. I mean, for you, you have to decide where your pockets of creation are, where your time of creation is, where your capacity is, and then you have to show up. Now, there are ways of rewarding ourselves, right? We show up and you can start giving your brain something to anticipate that is like a reward. So you show up for this many days in a row, maybe you go get a sweet treat or a little coffee. You show up for this many times in a row, maybe you go buy yourself a little art supply, a little present, just a little present, right? Like you start rewarding yourself. Your body starts anticipating, I want to show up for this. I get to show up for this. This is why we create that environment of consistency. You light the candle, you get the really beautiful drink, you put on the clothes that you want to create in, you put the soundtrack you want to create to, and your body and your nervous system and your mind start to associate these things with, yes, I want to be in this place. Yes, I want to create. It's kind of like getting out your running shoes and your workout clothes the night before. Like you put them on without thinking about it, and your brain and your body just start getting in the habit of, okay, we're going, whether we feel like it or not. They start remembering these cues. You can do the same thing. Know that it feels like we have time, or looking at, I'm going to create for a year, feels like you have a lot of time. But the thing is, when nothing changes, nothing changes. But if you're consistent and you start adding in 5 minutes of time, 10 minutes of time, 15 minutes of time regularly, and I mean like 5-6 days a week, whenever you can really fit that in, because you're making it a priority, because you've decided to create, because you've decided to speak, you've decided to write, you've decided to paint, you've decided to do whatever the thing is, you will get to that end of the year and you will look back and you will realize how much further you have come, what you are capable of creating. You can't see that right now in your art. When I look back at the art I was creating 10 years ago, there's no way I could imagine what I'm creating right now, because that was the peak of what I could create. That was the most that I could create. I had no way of seeing where I would get to. But if I didn't create that art, and I didn't go up the stairs, and I didn't, do the next step and the next step and the next step, I wouldn't be creating what I'm creating right now. I wouldn't have the vision or the passion that I have right now. I needed that art to get me here. I know. So that means whatever you've been putting off because you feel like you're not good enough yet, you feel like you're not ready yet, you feel like, oh, I'll do this when I get better at this, I'll do this when I feel ready for this, I'll do this when I practice this a little bit more. That's not how it works. That's not how it works, okay? You get better through the consistent practice. You want to gain confidence, you need to start showing up. You want to get out of your overthinking brain, you need to start taking action. You want to move into and start feeling into what it is that you want. You need to start making it real, because that's how we build momentum. When we start to see things become real, we start to feel the feelings of that creation, we start to build that momentum. Momentum is so much easier once it's going, and momentum is so much easier than motivation. It's so much easier than motivation, because, and I always come back to the body, right? Or just like physics, an object in motion stays in motion. It's just how it works, including with us. When we are moving, it feels like stagnant and stuck to stop, right? But when we're stuck, when we're numb, it feels really hard to get going sometimes. Here's your assignment for day 8. Today, day 8, as we're moving into the second week of Creative Genius. Your assignment is to look at your capacity, look at your days, look at your schedule, look at your week, and decide how you can block out time for your creativity. It can be, what do you need to give up in order to make that happen? Do you need to give up scrolling? Do you need to give up whatever it is for you that's taking up your time, so that you can devote those 10, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour, hours, if you got them, to what you actually want to be creating, right? What can you let go of to make space for what you really, truly want? And how can you start building momentum? You have, from now to the end of the year, you have a good chunk of time to finish out this year building what you want. And we hear a lot, like, how would the version of you that already had the thing show up? How would they be showing up differently than how you're showing up? Would they have more trust? Would they have more self-belief? Would they have more accountability? Would they have more discipline and devotion? Would they have more ease and gratitude because they know that what they're creating is worth it? They know it's all working out. Would they create from a place of love and gratitude and service and offering? Like, how would the emotion and the feeling and the energy of what you're creating change if you knew that it was all leading you to where you're supposed to be? If you knew it was all leading you towards where you're supposed to go? And that's the magic of creativity, is that we are led to the next step in creation when we are willing to take those first steps. We are led to what needs to be said. We are led to what needs to be created. We are led to what needs to be formed in the world through us, through our divine magical connection to the universe. But we have to be willing to be the people that can hold the vision. We have to be willing to be the people that can handle what is coming. We have to be willing to be the people that can hear the call and will answer it. You were made to answer the call. One of these could be a much longer class, right? But we're keeping this in like bite-sized increments so you can actually start. So what is your consistency for the rest of today? What is your consistency for the rest of the week? What is your consistency for the rest of the month? And what is your commitment to consistency for the rest of the year? Schedule it out, book it out, prioritize it however you need to. Let the people around you know this is what you're doing. Share it with somebody to keep you accountable. Share in the comments what your schedule is going to be or what your consistent practice is going to be. And if you miss one or it's not working out, you don't beat yourself back up. You just get back on it and you just keep going, right? You just know that your consistency is going to change in different seasons of your life, but honestly, because you're always creating in every single moment of every single day, the most important part that you can start to be consistent with is how you view yourself, how you talk to yourself, how you speak to yourself, how you speak over your work, how you speak about your life, what you think about yourself, your internal world. And so really start to make time to prioritize consistency there too. We know that self-criticism activates the fight or flight stress part of our brain, our amygdala, versus when we speak compassionately to ourselves, when we speak kindly to ourselves, when we believe in ourselves, when we soften towards ourselves, it activates the part of our brain that can innovate, that can problem solve. So as you experiment with consistency and as you figure this out, take some of the self-criticism away if it's not perfect and just realize I'm experimenting, I'm figuring it out, I'm figuring out a way to make this work, I'm prioritizing this, I'm doing a good job, I am the person that's meant to create this, I'm creating all the time, I'm creating moments and memories and identity and a story and a life every day. And what does my life feel like? And what am I creating with consistency in my life, in my relationships, in my food, in my play, in my any area you want? And just start really experimenting and playing. How often do you show up? Where do you show up with the most energy? What lights you up the most? Where can you take that and then kind of feed it into other areas of your life? You're doing such a good job. You're showing up every day. It's just about making it the way that you want. I'll see you tomorrow.